Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Right, today I'm going to be testing the Bodywel A275 step-through electric bike. Now, Bodywel are a new brand to the UK and EU, and they've kindly sent me this e-bike to review, which I'm very grateful for. Now, today I'm going to be taking it up Bodmin Moor. I'm going to be riding it off-road for a little bit on some gravel. And yeah, we'll see how it does for battery range. I'll be doing about 35 miles today, maybe 40 miles. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it gets on. Now, it's very similar to the e-Scoot Paluno Plus I tested a few weeks back. It's got very similar frame design, very similar components. So yeah, it will certainly be interesting to see how it compares to that bike. It is a bit cheaper, and I did have a message off Bodywel today saying they are going to be running a promotion on this bike, and its current price I believe is £1,199. But for the promotion, apparently they're going to be offering up to £300 off. Anyway, without further ado, I'm gonna do a quick walk around of the bike, show you the components, and we'll jump on it and take it for a spin. Right, first of all, we'll look at the electric components. Now, the motor is an unspecified brand. It is a 250 watt 36 volt geared hub motor. I've ridden about 5 miles to get where I am at the moment, and so far the performance seems to be pretty good. It's reasonably quiet, fairly smooth, certainly seems to provide enough assist for getting up some of the steep hills we have down here in Cornwall. Right, moving on to the battery. Right, it's a 540 watt hour battery, 36 volt 15 amp hour. There's no information on what cells are used. I did fully charge a battery prior to leaving, so it'll be interesting to see how we get on as far as range is concerned. Right, we've got a coil sprung front suspension fork. Seems quite basic. Looks like these knobs here can be adjusted, but they're not. They're kind of fixed. But yeah, so far it seems to be fine. Now, the tyres are CST all-terrains, 27.5 by 1.95, so they're quite a good size. They seem to provide quite a bit of comfort. It's actually quite a smooth bike to ride. And we've got a headlight. Now, this is the interesting thing on this bike. We've got hydraulic disc brakes. Not something you usually find on a bike at this price point. They are a brand I'm not familiar with. Ronglun, not a brand I've heard of before, but I've done a couple of long descents and they seem to be performing quite well actually. Impressed. Right, moving on to the controls. We've got a very big colour display. As you can see how big it is compared to my bike computer, but it's massive. Now, there's 3 levels of assist. Obviously you've got your battery indicator. There is an app available, but I couldn't find it on the App Store, so maybe you've got to download it off their website. It's easy to change it from miles an hour to kilometres an hour. I think you just have to press and hold this button here. Now, the keypad seems a little bit topsy-turvy usually, but apparently this is how it's set up. So the plus key is down below, the minus key is above. So yeah, a bit confused about that. Anyway, we have a bell, and we've got the standard Shimano Tourney or TX50 thumb shifter, and we've got these nice little grips. Yeah, the bike's typical sort of build quality. Couldn't find any scratches or marks on it. Looks okay. These nice metal pedals, the kickstand, and we've got a pannier rack, and we've got a rear light as well. And finally, we've got a comfortable saddle. Not always a fan of these big sort of squishy saddles, but this one's actually pleasantly comfortable. Anyway, there you have it, guys. That's the walk around done. I think I've remembered everything. Now I'm going to take it on for a spin. Right, I'm currently riding up around Carradon Hill, which is at the eastern fringe of Bodmin Moor. Right, let's talk a little bit more about the bike. It performs as expected. It's smooth, it's a comfortable bike. It's got a nice upright riding position. Feels very, very similar to the e-Scoot Paluno Plus I tested a few weeks back. Got these nice Dutch style handlebars, which give you a nice upright riding position and a comfortable hand position. I'm impressed with the saddle. The saddle works really well. Yeah, not bad at all really. Not for the price. And obviously if I was going to draw a direct comparison with the e-Scoot Paluno Plus, that does have a bigger battery. That has a 20 amp hour battery. It's got lockout on the suspension, it's got a torque sensor, and it's got a branded hub motor. But on a negative side with the e-Scoot, of course, it's got mechanical brakes, which aren't particularly brilliant, whereas the Bodywel A275 has got hydraulic disc brakes. And even though they are a brand that I'm not familiar with, so far I'm very impressed with the performance actually. They certainly perform on a par with, say, Tektro hydraulic disc brakes. I've got no complaints in that department. Right, let's talk a little bit about the assembly process. Right, now the bike was very well packaged. Assembly was fairly straightforward. It's just a case of fitting the front wheel, fitting the mud guards, the rear pannier rack, the handlebars and the seat post. So no nasty surprises there. They do provide a small toolkit, which includes Allen keys and a pedal spanner. There's also a pump provided, and an instruction manual. So who is the Bodywel A275 going to be suitable for? Well, it's certainly going to make a good commuter e-bike. It's going to be great for getting you to and from work. The battery capacity is going to be enough, I would imagine, to give you a range of maybe sort of 40 to 50 miles. I mean, it's looking promising so far. It's also going to be a good leisure bike. You know, if you just want a nice e-bike, you can go off like I'm doing today, explore your local countryside, see some of the local sites without putting in too much of an effort. It's going to be ideal for that. Maybe you want to get back into cycling after an illness or an injury. I mean, the motor certainly seems to provide a meaningful level of assist. Right, I'm going to wrap this up now. So far I've done 17.5 miles and I've lost one bar off the battery. Right, what do I think of the Bodywel A275? I think for the price it's a perfectly good e-bike. It seems to have a good battery range. I've got about another 17 miles to go before I get back home. What I'll do is I'll put the final mileage up and how much battery I had remaining when I got home. Right, positives. The brakes work really well, the motor is nice and smooth, and the pedal assist, even though it's a cadence system, it is quite responsive, and it starts as soon as you start pedaling, as it should do. There's no delay, and it stops as soon as you stop pedaling as well, which is nice for a cadence system. Obviously the hydraulic brakes, wasn't familiar with the brand, never heard of them before. They work absolutely fine so far. I've had no problems with them at all, no brake fade or anything like that. They're quite responsive, good modulation. The suspension fork, now when I first saw it I was a bit, you know, it looks like a very sort of cheap, low quality item. In all honesty, it's functioned just fine. It's going to be absolutely fine for day-to-day use, for commuting, even a bit of off-road riding, as you've just seen. Like, you know, it can be ridden off-road. So yeah, the suspension works absolutely fine. It would have been nice to have a lockout feature. The tyres are a good choice. They are obviously quite wide, which provides another layer of comfort. Unfortunately, the display is pretty well much useless in the sunlight. I would prefer actually a standard LCD, black and white LCD display. That's all we really need on an e-bike like this. I think a big massive coloured display like that's overkill. It's not really necessary. I would imagine it's quite good at night. The saddle's really comfortable. The gearing works well, although it did need a little bit of adjustment. A couple of miles into the ride I had to adjust the gears a little bit, which is no big deal. But yeah, it seems okay. I mean, I'm suitably impressed with it. I do think if Bodywel are going to reduce the price by £300 in the next week or so, which I believe that's what they're going to do for a promotion, I would say if you're after a step-through electric bike, it's going to bring the price of this down to about 899 quid, I believe, which is it's an absolute steal for a step-through e-bike with a 540 watt-hour battery, hydraulic disc brakes. It's going to be worth snapping one up if that's the kind of e-bike you're after. Obviously, I have been drawing comparisons with the eScoot Paluno Plus. The eScoot Paluno Plus has a better spec, but it does cost a little bit more. But I think for the price, this is a thoroughly decent e-bike, and I'd certainly have, based on the initial test ride, I'd certainly have no trouble in recommending it. Anyway, I hope you found this review useful, guys. I will be adding a lot more content in the future. I've got some interesting comparisons coming up. But yeah, if you like this video, if you found it useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you later.